For all of you here, welcome to our class, and those online, welcome. So we begin this new module called How to Meditate, and it will begin like every other module with a meditation. So we start with a meditation where we set our motivation and we take refuge and regenerate a particular type of mind called the mind of enlightenment. And so I'll lead you through it, and then we sort of pause and stop at different places and we say a few prayers, and they'll be up on screen. So if your eyes are closed, you can open them then, or you can just listen, whatever you feel comfortable with. And when we finish those, the class will begin. And during the classes, there's little places where we pause, and you guys can ask questions or want anything clarified. If you ever think of anything interesting to offer, that's a good time to do it. And we'll do that, and then we'll have another meditation. We'll just sort of go through the class like that. So we begin with our first meditation. So you just get comfortable in your seat. Ooh. And this just basically means you're sitting at ease, your back is straight, your feet are flat on the floor, and your shoulders are relaxed. You can place your hands wherever you like, and you can either close your eyes or keep them open. When you are sitting comfortably, allow the body to relax and to feel the body breathe itself. The body does this every night when you sleep, and it does it when you'll be walking around today. The body will be breathing itself. So I just want you to relax into that and feel the process. And while the body breathes itself, it's very easy to imagine that Shakyamuni Buddha and all the spiritual guides appear before you. Each of them is radiant with a golden light. I want you to imagine or to picture that your parents are sitting beside you. Either close family members and friends surrounding you. And there are many other people there too, many strangers, and also people who have caused us difficulty in the past. And I'd like you to accept the idea that all of us have a desire for happiness and to be free from suffering. And that we and the people that surround us and our ideas exist interdependently. Being dependent upon each other, our existence as separate, objective, and independent is an illusion. And then imagine possessing the wisdom that sees beyond the illusion of these dualistic appearances. And that this wisdom is combined with love and compassion. And possessing that wisdom, we would abandon the ridiculous ideas of being indifferent to others or being attached to them. So it's towards the three rare sublime ones that we're going to direct our attention and accept a refuge, which is one of wisdom conjoined with love and kindness and compassion. I want you to join me in saying, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha for benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha for benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened through the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And in response to this petition of ours, colourful nectars and lights shower down from the radiant beings of the refuge field, which is above us. And our wrong views, our arrogance, and our selfishness are washed away. Cleansed by wisdom and love, we recollect four immeasurable thoughts of compassion, love, joy, and equanimity. And we decide to develop these ourselves and to establish all beings in those states. And so we say, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So in response to this wish of ours, colourful nectars and lights shower down from the radiant beings in the refuge field. Any malice, personal distress, overexcitement, or apathy that have hindered our spiritual growth are now washed away. And cleansed by wisdom and compassion, we glow with a clear light. And feeling much stronger, we radiate goodness. We feel to be without violence, and we also know we are wise. And so with a smile, we remember the shining examples of the deities of refuge above us, and wishing to possess similar qualities, so ready and steady ourselves to clear away the final vestiges of our own afflictions. Now, thereby gathering the two accumulations of merit and wisdom, we become enlightened. And we say, reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since the beginning of time, and rejoice in the merit of all whole and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of psychic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma from living beings. I dedicate my own and others' merits to the great enlightenment. Everything seems real, but it's not. There isn't anything that exists on its own. And the Buddhas and the deities and we ourselves, our deeds and our goals, are merely inner and outer imputations. So we can get ready to let go of everything we see and feel and think, thereby eliminating our own greed and our selfishness, and freeing ourselves from anything that appears to truly exist. So from within that space of freedom, create a pure land of your body, speech, and mind. And then say, this ground, anointed with perfume, stirring with flowers, the dawn Mount Mary, 4 continents of southern India. I imagine this as a Buddha field of offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. So the Buddha takes what we've offered and he smiles at us with delight, and we meet his gaze. And in his eyes we find immense kindness and comfort. And so we ask him to help us stop all wrong thoughts, from disrespect to our teachers to clinging to ego. To let all the right thoughts appear, and let them come easily, and have all of our obstacles, which are inside and outside of ourselves, disappear, to vanish. And when we ask the Buddha, who is inseparable from our own spiritual teacher, Guru, please bless us and all beings to understand and feel impartiality, to recognize everyone as our own dear mother, to remember her kindness and want to repay it, and feel love and compassion, a sense of determination, and the mind of enlightenment. And in response to this, a replica of the Buddha leaves his heart, it moves through space, and it comes to rest above the crown of your head. And while facing in the same direction as you are, this replica begins to descend, enters the crown of your head, it comes down through your skull, through the throat, and into your chest, and rests just above your heart. The radiance of this emanation begins to expand, and light fills your body and your mind. And the light goes out through the pores of your skin and begins to fill the 10 directions of space. And wherever there are living beings within space, they are touched by this light and utterly transformed into a fully awakened state. And a sense of having accomplished your purpose arises. And then, from the 10 directions of space, the light begins to withdraw and it re-enters your heart. And you can feel the body breathing itself. You can hear sounds and you know you're seated on a seat. You acknowledge that this is a meditation of imagination. Nevertheless, it has imprinted the mind with these images and these words. It opens up the possibility for you to acknowledge your future enlightenment. I think this is a wonderful thing that's happened. And then breathe in deeply through your nostrils. Exhale through your mouth. And let your eyes flutter open. Move your arms, your shoulders, your feet. Get yourself comfortable again in the seat. And we'll begin the course very shortly. So we've got like sort of 8 weeks of actual teachings, and then we've got a 1 week of review. So our topics will include motivation and dedication. These are the 2 practices that seal any meditation. We're going to look at types of meditation and the postures for doing so. We'll also look at different subjects for meditating upon and the difficulties you'll meet up with when you meditate. So one of them is you find very quickly how stiff your body is and how your shoulders get tight, your neck gets tight. Find you've got a lot of suffering going on inside the body most times. Right? But today, we're going to have a look at what meditation actually is and its purpose. We'll also look at these motivations for meditating, and in brief, we'll go through many different types of meditation very briefly, and then we'll see what it means to dedicate the effort. Now, the books and the material I've relied upon is this material here. You can see this one at the top, The Posture of Meditation by Will Johnson. This is a terrific book. It's very small, but it goes into quite good depth, but it's very easy to read. It's got diagrams and everything like that. And this is just about how to sit. The bottom book down here called Dissolving Pain is a real good book to go with it, because it shows you how to deal with all the pains that can arise in the body and even mental pain. So it comes out of a pain clinic in America. And with the book comes a CD with all the meditations on it. It was really useful. The books here called The Great Way and The Heart of Meditation, they're very advanced types of meditation, but I want to put them in there because they're dealing just with the mind. And we're always working with the mind when we're meditating. And the other books are sort of general books that cover all the different topics of meditation we'll be going through.
Take a photo, anybody would want to take a photo.
We have all of these books in our library. That's the other thing I should mention. So I'm going to bring in a new slide. This is our new one. So I want to talk about the context whereupon meditation takes place. So what I mean by context is we ourselves as human beings and the world we find ourselves in. And I want to talk about it from the perspective of what they call the 2 truths. So the 2 truths are ultimate truth and conventional truth. And this word conventional truth has like 3 different meanings. So I'll just say what they are. So the word is conventional. So conventional means something that we've all agreed with. So we all agree with that we're people sitting in this room, that we're sitting on chairs, we're in a place called meditation hall. It's just like using language and thought. It's an agreement that we all make. It's a convention. That's one of the meanings. The other meaning of conventional is that if we have an effect, it's produced depending upon causes and conditions, and it will fall apart. It'll disintegrate. But any product falls apart. Any product depends upon causes and conditions to produce it. So this is the thing that science agrees with, Buddhism agrees with, anybody will agree with it, just think it through. Any effect depends upon causes and conditions. And so this is what we call a convention. The second thing is that if you have any whole, like this thing called a clock, so this whole object is a clock. It's made up of parts. So a whole depends upon its parts. We have a body, it's a whole thing. It's made up of parts. It's another convention. We work that out and we can all agree on it. A deeper level of convention, it's not very apparent, is that everything depends upon consciousness and the process of labeling. In other words, using your language to describe something. So we have, first of all, what we call the appearances, right? So if I'm just sitting here and you're looking at me, I appear to you, don't know, right? But if you didn't have the words like person, you just have an appearance and you wouldn't know what was in front of you. Right? So we use our perceptions and our conceptions, our thoughts and our senses. And that helps us to describe what we call reality, what's around us. So there's the two aspects of conventional truth: agreement, and then cause and conditions, parts. Things depend upon your awareness and your ability to think. Now the last one about, here we go, conventional truth. Conventional truth means that whatever's appearing to you doesn't exist in the way it's appearing to you. Meaning that everything's appearing to you is a way falsely appearing to you. It appears one way, but it exists in another. I know it's strange, isn't it? But I'm going to give you a whole lot of demonstrations of that really shortly. This is the meanings of conventional truth here. Three meanings: agreement, cause and conditions, so forth. And then that everything that is appearing falsely. It looks like it's true, it looks like it's real, but it's not when you investigate. So that's why it's called a falsity. Looks real to our senses. We think it's real, but when you investigate, that reality that we thought was there, it's not there. We don't find it. So they call conventional truths falsities. They're not really true. Now, the ultimate truth, so that's all conventional truth, these three big things. The ultimate truth is a quality you discover that's lacking in all those conventions. It's like the thing that we thought was there, it's not there. That's called the ultimate truth. You discover that, that's the ultimate truth of phenomena. It's in there empty of what you thought was there. Now this is, I mean, it's probably quite intellectual to you all and go, geez, I've lost already, right? I just got it, I don't know what he's talking about. So His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, like he said, when we talk, this is a good place to start for Westerners because they've had an education. So it won't take them too long to work this out. Now, of course, it's not easy when you first hear it. So I just want to lay this down as the ground and now describe why I'm talking like this. So we are people and we're in this world. So I want to talk about, first of all, how we exist as persons and then the world that we find ourselves in. So we as persons, we are not the body, we are not the mind, we are not the combination of them both. Now, you don't have to believe this. I'm just saying this is what you discover through meditation. We're not the body, and we're not the mind, and we're not the combination of them both. We're not some entity that is separate from them either. We're not something independent, not dependent upon the body and mind. We're not that either. So this is why I'm describing things of what we're not. We're not the body, we're not the mind, we're not the combination, we're not something independent and separate from them.
Doesn't leave much options.
No, it leaves a sort of a blank, isn't it? You go, geez, what? Like, who the heck am I then? So I won't tell you that just yet. But be assured you do exist, because you're right here listening to me, right? This does not mean we don't exist. It just means we don't exist like that.
In meditation.
Well, right now too. Okay. So this is us as people. So when we seek to find ourselves or any other phenomena, to be like to have some sort of essential nature, to be some sort of real entity, you don't find any such thing. That's how it ultimately exists. Conventionally, we're right here in front of each other talking to one another. So this is the discrepancy that I was talking about. You know, like you look suddenly all real, you investigate deeper, and you go, oh my God, that reality I thought, it's not there. Does this mean I don't exist? No. We exist. We're talking to one another. Now the last one, no one, not any person, no scientist, not even the Buddha himself, who's seemed to be an enlightened being, has ever found the mind. The mind is unfindable when searched for. Now here's some interesting phenomena. So that's the sort of person. Now we're going to talk about the body of the person. So the atoms in our body are 99.9999999999999 empty space. Right. And none of the atoms in our body are the ones we were born with. And all of them originated from the belly of a star. Now, our cells, now we'll talk about our cells, right? So 90% of the cells in our body carry their own microbial DNA, and they are not you. And human beings, we've got 46 chromosomes. So we're not much, are we? You just like go smaller. So we've got 46 chromosomes, but chimpanzees and bonobos have 48 chromosomes, 2 more than the humans. And among the primates and the mammals, the gibbons have 44 chromosomes. The gibbon is another type of ape, which is 2 less than humans. Well, potatoes have more chromosomes than human beings. 2 more. The same, yeah, 40, yeah, just like the others. Yeah, yeah, we've got 46. So potatoes have 48.
Speak to my potatoes.
So it doesn't appear like that, does it? So there's something about this discrepancy between how we actually are and what we appear to be. There's a major discrepancy. And not only that, but while we're talking to one another, we're traveling through the galaxy at 220 kilometers a second. Now that we just seem to be still, don't we? Right? But actually, so major discrepancies, right? Even just in our conventional world. Not only that, we can hear less than 1% of the acoustic spectrum, and we can see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. And this means that all the beautiful colors we see represent less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. And the existence of every color depends upon the conical photoreceptors in our eyes. So we don't just look at colors, we create them. So if you look at, so in other words, you look at your body, whatever it looks like, that appearance, you're creating it. It's not existing there as an object. It's amazing, isn't it? Really amazing.
Sorry, Eddie, are the colours we see and interpret, like our own interpretation?
Yeah. Yeah, this thing we call reality.
Energies.
Yeah, which is another creation. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we don't just look at a color, we create it. So we might see a rainbow in the sky, right? So you've got to remember, okay, that rainbow is being created depending upon conical receptors and physiology. There are animals that don't have the same conical receptors as we do, so no rainbow appears to them. The rainbow does not exist for them. Okay? And so we are these people that are going to meditate. So what is meditation? Well, it's the process of becoming familiar with something, and the something is called a virtuous object. So what I want to, so Buddhism, we try to deal with reality, what the reality is. So what I just described to you a minute ago, that's our conventional reality. That's how it exists. We're part of this phenomenon called reality. And what we need to do is to become familiar with reality, not what we think it is, but as it is. And this reality we find ourselves in, there are things about it we like, and there are things about it we don't like. And what we don't like is suffering. No one likes to be hurt. No one really appreciates pain, even though pain can be very useful. We don't like it. But there are other phenomena that we really do like, and we find ourselves called happy. So meditation is this process of finding out, first of all, what is this, for instance, like here, what does it mean, like a virtuous object? What is that? And why would we want to become familiar with a virtuous object? Well, the answer is because we want to be happy. And virtuous objects are needed to produce this effect called happiness. So this word meditation, of course, is an English word. And no doubt we all have ideas what it means. But in the Sanskrit language from where this word originally came from, it's called bhavana. And it just means to cultivate. Like you see, it's kind of a sort of analogy to sort of growing something, cultivating something. And what we're going to cultivate is virtue, because virtue is the cause of happiness. So we're going to cultivate the causes to become more happier. We're going to cultivate antidotes to decrease our suffering. Now in Tibetan, they don't use this word bhavan, they use the word gom. So here we call this room is called like a gom pa. So the word gom means to become familiar with. So we've come into the pa is like the place, right? The place where you go to become familiar with something. So we're in the place and we become familiar with it, at least for a few months, conventional reality, the ultimate reality where you can't find the things that you're actually looking for in an objective way. And this idea now that, this is the purpose of meditation. It's to cultivate familiarity with something that will make me happier and decrease my suffering. So one of the ways that the Buddhists have divided up mental phenomena, they find that there's three states. One where you have mental states that are sort of neutral. You're not obviously suffering. It's not a painful state. You go, yeah, no, I'm not experiencing that. Are you really happy? No. We call that a neutral state. Somewhere between happy and overjoyed, way of feeling. On the other side, this is not happiness. So we've got these states called neutrality. So one of them is described as sleep. Sleep's not a positive phenomenon, it's not a negative phenomenon, it's just something we have to do. Oftentimes with eating too. So we eat food and we're not really happy with what we eat. It's not great food, it's not terrible food either. So the mind that's eating is still not neutral. And other times you eat something, you really like it, again, you don't like it, well, of course the other way. So positive, positive, neutral, negative. And this has to do with the feeling tone. It's not a moral or ethical judgment. It's just, if you go one way to the other. So what we try and do is you find what are the states that produce happiness and increase them or make them stable. And you find what are the states that produce suffering and we try and decrease them, lessen them. And what neutral states do we find? Try and convert them into the positive, move them towards the positive. And don't let them slide off into the negative. So what we're going to do now is a real simple meditation, and we're going to do something that's seen as neutral, and we're going to turn it into something positive. And we can just do this with the breathing. So this meditation, although we are breathing in it, and you'll be focused on the breath, but the meditation itself is more to do with your imagination. So imagination is also one of the ways of meditating, which I'll come to shortly. So it's like we're sitting down, we're going to do a meditation, and we think, okay, well, I've heard this stuff about I'm going to try and cultivate virtue to be happier, and I know I want to decrease my negative mental states. So I'm going to imagine I'm actually doing that when I breathe. So what we do, so I'll demonstrate first, just get, so my left hand here, I'll get my pointer finger, and I'll put it up against my right nostril like that, just block it like that. And I'm going to imagine when I breathe in through the left nostril, that I'm breathing in everything virtuous and good. But it's like white, it is virtuous and good, but I'm imagining it to be like white light. So I breathe in the white light, I go, take my finger off, move it to here, go, and out comes all the black and gunk. So anything negative that I've got stored within my mind and body, being released on my out breath. Now switch it back, I go, one more. White light, everything good, precious. Switch. Out goes all the gunk. Out goes my depression, out goes my anger, out goes everything that I feel is harmful to me. So do that one side, then we switch it over. Then we go, okay, now I'm going to breathe in all the good stuff on the right side, and I'm going to breathe out all the bad stuff on the left side. So I've cleared both, they call it your internal channels. And finally, I'm going to sit here and take my hands away, I'll breathe in all the white lights in both nostrils, and I'll exhale all the bad stuff. So here, we're just cleaning up our motivation. You'd like to try? Okay, come sit here. Okay, so we know we've got troubles, we know we've got problems. We know they're all caused by negative mental states. So just get your finger, block that right nostril, breathe in all the white virtue through the left nostril. Switch over and exhale all the bad stuff out. So just do this 3 times in your own time. The major thing is to just have your imagination working. Breathing in all the virtue, the white light, the strengthening factors. And exhaling all the dark factors. And then when you finish, just breathe normally and naturally. This is a very simple way you can turn something neutral, like your breath, and oftentimes you don't think about why you want to meditate. It's sort of neutral things. I better meditate. But this is a guy going, well, you have a purpose for meditating. Let's blow out all the rubbish and get the mind clear, and then we'll set the purpose up. So when we talk about purpose, we're talking about the motivations for meditating. Why do we want to do it? So basically, we've got there are four. You'll have many reasons for meditating. You can put them into four categories. So we'll look at these categories now. So the first category is called this life. You're unhappy. You want to remove the difficulties of this life, and you want to be happier. That's where we find ways of meditating to do that. That's why we have the psychology profession, psychiatry profession, all these sorts of things. We might go to them and talk to them. Buddhists would go, you can do a lot of this through meditating. But what I'll tell you the other guy, I read this great article, he said, Buddhism is not a therapy. It'll turn your life upside down. And so when I began, with this thing of going, no, it's an idea, it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I actually existed like that. I thought something quite different, right? So this idea does sort of turn your life upside down. You sort of wonder, well, who am I? Gosh, I'm nothing like what I thought I was. So we can use meditations to remove difficulties in this life and be happy. And we can, it'll work. But Buddhism actually sort of begins by looking beyond this life and going, yeah, of course you want to be happy in this life, but you realize, of course, you'll have another life. You'll meet the same difficulties. So you don't want to meet those same difficulties, do you? So why not create meditative states now so that you don't? So you actually want to always have what they call high status. And high status begins with having the life of a human being, with a number of factors, with intelligence, with all your senses working, with the ability to reason, having faith. There's a number of different factors. It doesn't mean just being a human. It means being a human with conditions that support spiritual development. So there's the first two reasons. The third one is liberation. In other words, we look at our life, this life, or we project into the future lives and go, no matter which life I take, it's always going to be difficult. I'm always going to get sick. I'm always going to die. I'll always be separated from the people I care about. That's always going to happen. Or do I want that to keep happening? And so if your answer is no, this means you're seeking complete personal freedom from your own samsara. The samsara is not like out there beyond our senses. Samsara is what we create with our senses and our thinking. But it's our own personal struggles we go through as being human beings that don't know how things exist and being mistaken about it. So we think, well, I've had enough of it, I want out. So there are practices and you can discover them and you familiarize yourself with them through meditation, so you can do it. But there's something even greater than that, which is called Buddhahood. So here you achieve two purposes. You achieve your own purpose of complete personal freedom from cyclic existence or samsara, but you have the full potential to help others do the same. So this is the goal of what we call a person who's a Mahayanist. So you don't have to sort of adopt this idea straight off, you can work up to it. But often that's what often we need to do. You sort of think it through and go, it's got to be the big goal. Yeah, okay, you want the big goals, you have to cover all four of them. Right? Look after yourself in this life, make sure your future lives are good, keep aiming for that personal sense of liberation. It's not just for yourself, it's to benefit others. So, so these are our motivations for meditating. So before we meditate, so this idea of the 9-round breathing meditation is to get the mind clear. Now you said, this is why I want to meditate. And of course, you're aiming up for the highest one. I want to rid the mind of what they call the 2 obscurations, everything that hinders mind development, and I want to develop all the good qualities. So let's have a look now. So what when we come to meditate for enlightenment, this Buddhahood, what are we doing? The first thing we've got to do is we've got to remove whatever hinders us right now, to stop doing whatever causes us problems now. So they often, so they do this really good analogy, which I like. So like tonight when you go home, so just imagine you're going to have dinner tonight and you've invited some guests over. You've cooked the meal, so then what would you do? The meal's cooked, remember? The meal is cooked, wouldn't you sort of lay out the table, wouldn't you? You'd put out the cutlery and you'd put out the crockery.
Setting.
Hey, you'd set your table, right? Now when you set the table, are your dishes clean?
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, you would have done your best to clean them, wouldn't you? I mean, you wouldn't put out last night's. Okay. Well, I haven't done the dishes since last night. That's okay. That'll be okay with that. And put that out there, right? We don't do that, right? So it's the same with us, right? It's like, hang on, we're a little dirty ourselves, just like the dishes, right? Well, we need to sort of remove a little bit of that before we can put the good stuff in. And we don't want to make it even worse. So we start off by going, look, first of all, just stop. Once you discover what causes you pain and hinders your happiness, stop doing it. Discover what it is and stop doing it. That's the first part, first thing to do. And then find out how you can actually remove either the conditions or the causes that push you into doing it. Make it harder for yourself to do things that hurt yourself. So these things that make it hard are called obscurations, and there are like 2 of them. One is called afflictive obscurations, and one is called cognitive obscurations. So we begin by working on the afflictive ones. And we'll just put aside the cognitive ones for now. They're really difficult to get rid of. But afflictions, we can work with those right now. So afflictive obscurations are things like anger, jealousy, afflictive pride, great doubt, fear, anxiety, all these sort of things. You go, yeah, when I have those experiences,
Flipped us.
they afflict, they afflict me. It's like I got sick. I can't work as well as I'd like to. So I want to be well. I want to have a good dinner with my friends. I want to set the table right. So that's our first part. So once we've done that, of course we want to serve a good meal. Right? So the best meal for us is compassion and wisdom. We need to find out how can we use our intelligence more effectively. Because we are intelligent, we've got intelligence already. And we already have compassion. It's just it's very constricted. It's only forms around ourselves and those that we hold dear. And our intelligence is mainly focused on what we want. So both of these can be altered, modified, changed, because they're both changeable properties. And we can do it. So we also need some support to do this. So the support is called bodhicitta. This is a mind. So this mind is this one where I said, when we set our intention, you want to be sure about why am I meditating? And so whatever the why is, it's a mind that decides that, isn't it? You decide, the mind decides, I'm meditating for this reason. Now, the very best mind you can create to support your practice in this life and every other life that comes, it's called bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment. And that's why we say, look, I'm meditating because I want to develop my wisdom and compassion and every other skill I have to put an end to my own suffering and help everyone else do the same. That's why I'm meditating. Right? So that supports you in this life and every other life that will come, until you reach this goal called Buddhahood. So we achieve our goal. Now these are the sort of steps you go through, the process of meditating. We restrain and we move, then we generate. We're supported through this through our own thinking and through the help of spiritual teachers, mentors, your own spiritual community. They're all interested in the same goal. And if finally we achieve this great goal called Buddhahood. Now on the way, what should happen is your difficulties and suffering become less and less, and you actually become better and better. It's not like we just stay the same and one day, hello, everything's good. It's not like that. Is there anything you'd like to ask before we move on to the types of meditation? And have I presented this clearly enough for you to understand what I'm sort of saying?
So Demi asks, playing with your analogy there, Eddie, the 9-round meditation in conjunction with taking refuge helps us to set our motivation, so we don't just invite our friends for dinner, but our enemies and strangers too.
you can all come to do that. That's right.
Interesting dinner party.
Yeah. Well, that's what a good, what do you call it, mediator does, doesn't it? You sit down with the two struggling forces, you bring them together, and what often works is to have a meal, isn't it?
Let's start off with something yummy.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone feels tummy's full now we can talk. Okay, let's have a look now then at our types of meditation. So the first is called stabilizing and analytical. And we're going to mainly stay on this through the next 8 weeks, but all the rest will filter in. You'll see how they do. So stabilizing just basically means that you concentrate the mind. You can place your mind on an object and just keep it there. Analytical means you think about this object while your mind is on it. So everyone has done this. If you ever made yourself depressed through the thinking, if you've ever made yourself anxious, you've done this. You just put your mind on an object and you thought about it. And the way you thought about it created anxiety. But you can also do it to create happiness. So this is the major one, but there are others. And so here we have what we call objective and subjective. So in terms of subjective, the subjective means we're working with the mind. We want the mind to change from one state to another. And when it changes, we want to keep the change. Objective, we want to become familiar with something. We don't need to change anything, we just need to become familiar with it. Like I said before, so we're moving, like I said, okay, so if we want to become familiar with, oh my gosh, I'm made up of all these billions of atoms, but in fact, they're really all space, right? So that's like, well, I don't need to change it, but I need to become familiar with that. The fact that I think I'm stable is standing there, in fact, when we're moving so fast, So it's become sort of, the other one is like, wow, I'm actually not the body. If I were, I'd be something physical. That don't mean I'd pull I've got to be, if I'm the body, I've got to be some part of it. If I'm not a single part of it, then I can't be all my parts, right? That I'm not. So if I say I am, it's got to be something physical. Where is it? Where can I point and go, that's me? So when you find there's no physical part that I can point to and say, that's me, that's the person, you know, I'm not the body. So something like that. Review meditations. So these are very common. It's just a way of taking a vast corpus of knowledge and reviewing it very quickly. I'll show you as we go through here. What we call wishing prayers. So the four immeasurables are wishes. Taking refuge is like a wish. Imaginative. So the idea of breathing in the white light, breathing out the black. It's imaginative meditation. Puja is what we call like a service of offering, where we all gather together and offerings are made to the Buddha and the other bodhisattvas and so forth, and we do a practice around it. It's like setting the table and having a dinner party.
But because everybody's involved, we don't think of it as meditation, but it is meditation.
Yeah, it's becoming really familiar with the practice of generosity, for one. But there's many others in there too. Refuge, bodhicitta.
The pujas also contain a significant wishing prayer and imaginative.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I often see, if you take any of these, all of them are in there. Aspects of them are all in there. Yeah. And finally, there's another one called sadhana and dance. So sadhana just means that you have a manual, a little book. It shows you the different stages you go through, and you go through them all, and it's called the meditation. So when we began today, we start off with refuge, then we did the four immeasurables, then we did the 7 limbs, then we did the mandala offering. So those are always in a sadhana. They're part of a sadhana. And there's also one called dance. So there's different types of dances that the Tibetans do, and they're meditative processes. It's not just like an ordinary dance you can go out and do anything you want. It's like it's got huge symbolic value, and you have to do it in a particular way, and the mind has to be focused on who you are while you're doing that dance and what the thing means.
It's like Tai Chi, or more like Tai Chi than going to a rave.
Yeah, it's not like a rave though. It's more like Tai Chi, that's right. Yeah. So what I'll do now is just very quickly go through each of these in a bit more depth. So like I said, the first is stable analysis and stabilization, or stabilizing and analysis. So here are a number of different books that primarily deal here. These ones, all of them. There's a great amount of following the Buddha's footsteps, stabilization. Meditations on the path are both analysis and stabilization. Shamatha, stabilization. The path to bliss, both. Meditative states is stabilization. Walking through walls is mainly stabilization. So stabilization just means that you are able to place your mind on an object and keep it there stably. You concentrate. And all these books discuss the stages of the process. Like often, you start off and you can't do it very long. Your mind just wanders off. So that has it's called, that part is just called place the mind on it. So when are you successful? Yeah, after 1 second.
After what?
1 second. You get 1 second, you can place your mind on the object for 1 second. You're able to do it. Yeah. You'll notice the mind moves on. So what's the next stage? Well, replace it. So you'll replace the mind. Right? And so how do you know when you've done that? Well, you've got it for a minute. So you sort of know, so this whole thing's mapped out, right? You've got timings for it. There's things that what do you experience when your mind is on it? It's not like we're going to something unknown. This has been going on for hundreds of years. And so that's what I like about it. It's like there's a map already in place. There's a journey in place. You can go through it. You can question it. You can talk to others about the experience. Others will know, and so forth. Yeah, so these books primarily do that. And here is this picture of stabilizing meditation. So what I've found, I'll put this up first and talk about the picture. So it means to fix your mind firmly on a single object or a topic. And it has other names, and the other names are placement meditation, concentration, samadhi. And for samadhi, we've got calm abiding, serenity, and shamatha. These are all different terms that you'll come across, but it just means the same thing. They're all synonyms. And this picture describes the process. So what I really like about it is this little picture of the building down the bottom down there. Right? So this is the building, one we're all in. We're hearing about it. So the first is it begins by listening. And here we are listening. Then later when we get out to do it, so this is the monk, you know, his mind is this black elephant that's run away. And he's trying to catch his mind and go, man, I need to tame the black elephant of my mind. And so he's got this couple of instruments in his hand. And what the instruments are representing are mindfulness and introspection. So this is with mindfulness and introspection, that I can actually hold my mind on that object. I can place it on it, and I can hold it on it. And so the picture describes this whole process of going up through 9 levels.
9 levels.
9 levels to attain the state called shamatha, calm abiding.
I just really like how the first step is just intending to concentrate, but being hopeless at it. Like you're already beginning it there. That gives me hope.
And the fact is that, you know, we already can concentrate. The fact that what we often concentrate is on outer objects. And meditation is not concentrating on an outer object, it's concentrating on an inner object. Because these virtues, they're inner qualities, aren't they? Kindness, love, compassion, patience, they're inner qualities, they're not out there. So we have to learn to bring the mind inside. Now we come to analytical meditation. This enables us to penetrate and understand an object through reasoning. So like for reasoning, right? So you could say, take the self. It is not the body. Why? Because it is merely imputed to the body. That's the reasoning. I mean, you might not be able to make sense of that reasoning, but that is the reasoning. So in other words, take the self. It is not the body. Why? It's imputed to the body. What does that mean? Well, when I see your body, I know there you are. So I, or your name, is given to this phenomenon called the body. For instance, when you're born, you weren't the body, were you? You know, your mother gave you this name, right? Your mother said, oh, I'm going to call you Caroline, Miffy, Sandra. And the name Sandra was given to the body of the baby.
And then you became you.
Then you became Sandra. But Sandra wasn't from the side of the body. You went right to that body, you'd never find Sandra, would you? Sandra wasn't even there. You had to take mum or dad to go, I'm going to call my baby, my child, Sandra. So I imputed or gave the name Sandra to the baby. Now it's the same with the body. If you look at the body, you go, okay, so what is body imputed upon? Yeah, well, all the parts. If all the parts aren't there, there's no body there. But if I look amongst all the parts, I don't find the body, I just find the parts. Right? So the main body is also given to the parts of something, and all those parts together are called body.
When we do this analysis, do we have to like sit there in meditation and do it, or can we just write it down?
You can do both. It's got to go. Writing is good because it moves your hands and your eyes, but you've actually got to do that and then now look back at yourself and go, well, if I am the body, which part? And if I'm not any of the parts, then I can't be the whole body, can I? So then you go, but here I am. I think of myself as a body. I go, of course you do, and everybody else does, and there's no problem with it. But you're not the body. You're a name given to the body. Do you remember at school? So I had this big difficulty at school. So I remember they had these what they call that, plywood things cut out, and there's a shape cut into it. And so the shape was of an apple, and they had this picture of an apple, and you had to put the shape in there, and then get the word apple, right? And go, that's an apple. And I couldn't make sense of it. I was going, how can that? How can this word, this thing here called apple, be this thing here? It's not. I was really stuck. I couldn't put together like the word apple to apple and go, these things are the same thing.
And plus, it's not even an apple, it's a picture of it, it's a piece of
Yeah,
plywood.
Yeah, all that, right? And I was really stuck. Right? I couldn't get this process of going, so no, it's called an apple. Or even if you had a real apple, you go, this object is called an apple. Right? That's not what we mean. It's called. To be called means you put something on it, the name, apple. And now it's an apple. I never go, it's called, it is an apple. No, it's called an apple. Many other cultures call it something else, don't they? Right? So this is this is how reasoning is very, very useful. Because oftentimes we think that what we call things, they are that. And so if somebody else swears at us or uses a bad name to describe us, right? And we go, wow, what's going on there? We're actually thinking, we're not that, isn't it?
Just call them.
Yeah, but if you just thought, no, just calling me this name, I'm not that, hey, no problems. All right, I'm cool with that. Say what you like, mate. Right? But we don't. We grab the word and the object and push them together and go, yeah, that's me. Well, I'm not that. That's just we get a lot of trouble like that.
I suppose if you call someone a criminal, that lays a whole lot of stuff on, doesn't it? That may or may not be true.
Yeah, that's right. But again, it's from the side. So the person calling, doing all the imputing, they're sort of fine with all that, aren't they? Right? It doesn't affect them. You think they can do all that. But from the other side of the person, it could affect them or not affect them. If you grasp all those words to go, you're talking about me, it's going to affect you. But if you
It's a
think,
negative judgment.
yeah, that's right. That's the same with the positive too, isn't it?
Yeah.
We love the positive judgment, saying, oh, yes, me, yeah, I'm great. But in fact, that's not you either.
Well, it's like with the royals, they had that thing, never deny, they rise above it, because they have status, so they never ever deny anything. It just glances off them.
Mhm. Yeah, and this is, again, comes to see when we know how things exist. Right? So words and labels are put onto objects.
It's
And
the
we do that.
response that makes those things more real.
Sorry?
It's the.
That's right.
it's
That's the thing that
response
that's
that
right. That's
makes
right.
it real.
That's it. That's right. It's not real from its own side. Not at all. It's made up. It's all made up. And you just put it on things, and now we think those things that we put the labels on are those things. And they affect us. Yeah. So here's an analytical meditation, right? So, do persons truly exist? So we go, do persons exist?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And what determines the existence of a person? What determines the existence of a person?
Heartbeat.
What did I say at the beginning?
Potatoes are 48.
Good. So,
That's
person exists depending upon causes and conditions, their parts, a consciousness, and a name. Are all those things in place? Yes, they are. So we have something that exists. But what are they? Yeah, and this is tricky. Was like we said, not the body, not the mind, not the collection of them. They are a name imputed to that base. Person. We put together something like this, you look at it, you go like, what's there? You don't know, right? What determines what's there? The name. As soon as you put the name on, now it's there. Now it exists as that. Until that name is put there, it doesn't exist as that name. You have to put the name on it. Otherwise, it's just an appearance.
It still exists though.
Of course it does. That's how it exists. I'm talking about how it exists. Yes, but not as the phenomenon. It exists as an appearance.
Actually, I've had this happen with some animals that they just don't look at humans at all. So there's an appearance, but they don't acknowledge you as a being or a threat or anything. They don't put the label person on you. It's like an object, like a tree or whatever.
So this is this thing in Buddhism is the big thing is the phenomena first of all, like these appearances, right? That's the phenomenon. Then we ask ourselves, how do the phenomena exist? That's the most important thing, not what the phenomena are, the appearances. That's not so important. They're just appearances. That they have no existence on their own. And what I said, that your senses create the things. They're not out there on their own. The colours aren't out there on their own. We just did that. Colours aren't out there on their own. We look at one another, what do we see? The colour of the body, we see the shape. The shape and colour are not out there.
Light waves, the light waves are there.
Yeah, but they're not out there independent of.
Our conical structure in
Yeah,
our life.
and all is dependent. If something is dependent, there's a relationship between the two things. So, but doesn't appear to truly exist. So what's that mean? It doesn't appear to exist like you've just said. You go, you betcha. Do colours and shapes appear to be out there on their own? Truly, yeah. Of course they do. Do electromagnetic waves all that appear out there on their own, independently? Yep, that seems true to me. You go, yeah, but is it true? Do persons seem to truly exist? Yes, they do. Do persons truly exist? No, they don't. That's, like I said, the discrepancy, right? Doesn't appear that we're all still here, stable. Yep. Are we actually so stable? No, we're actually moving at 220 kilometers per second. There's a major discrepancy between what appears and what we think about that. Subjective meditations. So here you're able to cultivate in the mind a new or a strengthened perspective or attitude.
The subjective meaning you're growing your character or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so we're responsible for that, right? If we're like angry people, it's not anyone making us angry. We make ourselves angry. We're misapprehending things. Do we want to be peaceful people? Yeah, well, we can't wait for the world to become peaceful until we are. That's not going to happen. It has to be us. We have to develop states of peace within ourselves. So this is the subjective awareness has to become peaceful. Objective meditations. Your aim is to make the mind become accustomed to or familiar with the topic of meditation.
That more like an understanding.
Yeah, so here we have in meditation on death. You have to understand that whatever's born will die. And this is, we've become familiar with the topic of death. We don't have to die to do that. We have a subjective experience. That's going to come later, no doubt. We have to push ourselves right now. But we need to know that this takes place. And when it takes place could be any time whatsoever. We need to understand this. And then there's, so what do I do about that? You know, and then there's an understanding that follows. These are called objective meditations. So, anything interesting?
Cass just said that's a very intense image there.
It is, it certainly is. Thank you, Cass. I wanted it to be that way.
She doesn't look like she's in the camera, Eddie, but she is.
No, she's not. That's right. It looks like she is. Me too, but we're not. Okay, let's do a brief meditation. So again, we just get comfortable in the seat. I want you to imagine the Earth from a panoramic cosmic viewpoint. The Earth, you'll be able to see the Earth in space, you're above it, looking at it. I want you to imagine seeing life itself teeming across its surfaces and depths. I want you to gaze upon this world free from judgment or expectation. But knowing how it exists, look upon it with compassion. For every being that you see is seeking the same basic aims: happiness and the avoidance of suffering. What if you could regard every sentient being within your view with the same unconditional benevolence? You imagine a sense of serenity in relating to all living beings with fairness. To be without bias or dislike. You imagine letting go of all your conceptual categories, which box beings into the roles of friend, foe, or stranger. Imagine a world unfiltered by prejudices, by labels or preconceptions. Now, just as the sun shines its light equitably upon all beings, imagine being able to foster an immeasurable equanimity towards all. Exhale. We've got a few more types of meditation to go through, so let's do that. So here we have what they call the review meditation, and this one is on a lamb rim. So a lamb rim is just all the steps on a path to spiritual development. And this is a terrific prayer. The story behind this is amazing, so I'll tell you that first. So there's this great teacher who pulled together what they call the great arahats, people who've realized ultimate truth directly, and said, I want you to write a praise to wisdom. So I think there's like 47 of them, there's a whole lot of them. They all wrote the same praise.
All by
All
themselves.
by themselves, and not knowing each other, but the same praise came out.
So are they prayers or praise?
Praise.
Praise. Good things.
Yeah. All in different parts of the place, and they all wrote the same prayer or the first praise. Yeah, so this is a praise to Manjushri. So then Manjushri appears to this meditator, who's the founder of the Sakya lineage. So this bloke's in meditation, and suddenly, thing appears, and he hears the words. So this is what he heard, right? If you are attached to this life, you are not a person of Dharma. If you are attached to the world of existence, you do not have renunciation. If you are attached to your own purpose, you do not have bodhicitta. And if grasping arises, you do not have the view. So these are 4 sentences. The whole lamb rim's in there. Like 2,000 pages of Lama Tsongkhapa's writing, it's all in there. So if you can review this, you review all the stages of spiritual development. So I remember I took a teaching on this. The first teaching I took on it, a great Buddhist master taught it. It was amazing to see what happened to everybody, right? So many people were in tears. when I heard this. And my wife had just died, and I went to this teaching, and it was just like, you just bang. Yeah, that's right. But it was such a great wake-up call for people who
Middle class Buddhists.
middle class Buddhists, or people who thought they were practicing and in fact weren't. And this guy is like in his 80s at the time, old man, but wow, the power in him and the compassion, his eyes, and this came out, this is the teaching, it was just so tremendous. So I've never forgotten it. Of course, I've memorized it too, because it gives you everything very, very quickly. So these reviews, this one's only in 4 lines. Lama Tsongkhapa did ones at like 14 verses, one side of an A4 sheet. 3 principal aspects of the path is the review meditation. Foundation of all good qualities is the review meditation. There's many of them that the Lamas will do. It's a very quick, concise way of familiarizing yourself with all the steps on the path. There's also what we call wishing prayers. So I really like this one. May anyone who merely sees me, hears me, or touches me, who talks to or about me, who thinks of me, or helps or harms me, may that action become a cause or a condition for them to attain non-abiding enlightenment right now.
So I just have to interject here and say this is how I dedicate my crochet pieces, except it's for everyone who wears the crochet or sees the crochet or admires it or copies it or anything have attain, what is it, non-abiding enlightenment right now and be free of all their sufferings. And
this is a lovely thing to say just before you go out, right? There's lots of people are going to see you. You go, just that bad. Man, this is terrific. Very simple thing to say, and makes you feel very, very good going out into the world. You're right, just my appearance itself. And even if they think badly of me, they thought of me. May that be a cause for them to attain enlightenment. Imaginative meditations. So we did one at the beginning, right? And we took refuge together. We had the Buddha move across through space, come down to the head.
Cass has said that she finds that setting a motivation before big scary things like presentations, setting it like that, takes away the fear and resets your perspective in a really helpful way.
Yeah, it sure does. That's right. Sure, it certainly would.
Yeah, public speaking and that.
Yeah, that's our public performance. I'm sure Pearlie would do something like this too, wouldn't she? You go up on stage, you're going to present the songs and stuff. Well, whatever happens, this be a cause. So deities dissolve into light. So this is a meditation that happens at the end of the death meditation. The light dissolves into the mansion dissolves into me, I dissolve into the civil tongue, civil dissolves into clear light voidness, I arise as the deity with one face and 2 eyes. So this is what you can do when you, so you can do this when you go to sleep. So it's a similitude of the dying process. So when you actually come to die, you take care of the process and do this instead. Yeah.
But we do just an even more simple version of this on Sunday morning meditations. Absorbing into.
Yes, so very simple, like we did too. So like the Buddha comes into you, he dissolves into you, the light goes out, it's like, wow, I've got no boundaries. Everywhere. And wherever beings are, they're touched by my light everywhere, we're the same. And it's non-concept, just rest in that. But when you come out as the deity. So you utterly transform your way of being in the world. So we don't normally do that, we just come out like we are. Then we've got all the problems that come out like the way we are. If you go to the deity, those problems are not there. Then we have what we call the puja ceremony.
Tonight, in fact, Medicine Buddha.
Medicine Buddha. So it begins with this lovely prayer like Namo Guru Mundraya. The river of merely hearing your names makes even Avicii's hellfires cool as a lotus palm. So for some reason, I really like that. Just that the river, because I say there's a lot of names, you know, just like the river, and just saying those names cools the fires out. Then we have what they call like the Vajra dance. So this is a great master, Chogyal Namkhai Norbu, great Dzogchen 10 practitioner, and he brought this practice into the world basically. So it's a dance practiced on a large mandala, and it corresponds to the internal dimension of oneself and the outer dimensions of the world. So again, it's like a big non-dual. You know, inner, what's outer is a reflection of the inner. There's also saying before about like, you know, this idea of dependence. There's not an absolutely concrete, objective, real world out there. That's what it looks like, and most people behave as that's the case. Through investigation, you find that's impossible. It's impossible. There is a world, but it's not like that. It's the one that depends upon us. So then there's this thing of going, okay, so we're not separate from the world. We're a co-creator of it. So these dances are like this idea of bringing in this idea of an external world and an internal world. Like I said, our body is made up of the same stuff as a star. There's the external world. Here's the external stuff that makes up your body. But you're primarily space.
But even dancing or singing together as a group, your heartbeats start synchronizing and like you're literally creating harmony together, just even on an ordinary level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, especially through singing, through song. Yeah. Sadhana, so here I think this is probably Vajradhara Buddha. Again, 6 session Guru Yoga. This is one of the prayers said. From this moment on, until I am a Buddha, may I never give up that my life be at stake this attitude, wishing to gain full enlightenment, in order to free from the fears of samsara and nirvana's complacency. That's the part I like, all sentient beings. So you can see this is the sadhana. Sorry?
Nirvana.
That we don't want the personal nirvana that leaves everybody else suffering. We want a non-abiding nirvana.
I.e. Buddhahood.
Yeah.
Full enlightenment.
But this little booklet here, that's the sadhana. So all the prayers are in it, which we'll do tonight. And then we do Medicine Buddha. So what do you find interesting? Anything? There's too much, just rolling on.
Is it a matter of like that we have to choose which one we do, or are we going to get guidance like out of all these different types of meditations?
I keep coming along here, you've got to get the lot. Over time, you get the lot. And
What about the dance?
sorry?
What about the dance?
No, we won't get the dance.
No.
No.
Then we could ask Geshe Zoka, though, because he knows the dancers.
Who's that?
Geshe Zoka,
Oh, does it?
yeah, great tantric master.
So look, we've got only a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to leave this meditation and we'll just keep going. So now, so here's this part. We began at the beginning, right? We set our motivation. We did some meditations. We did a lot of talking. You've been thinking a lot. So then you come to the end and you go, look, so what am I going to do with all this energy up there now, with all this thinking? Yeah, well, I'm going to direct it towards what I set out for in the beginning. I came in here to do what? Well, so you can bring back to mind your original motivation. So I thought, well, everything I've done, that's what I want that to happen. Yeah. So what's dedicated is what you call your virtue. And so this is why we begin with setting the motivation. So it becomes one of a virtuous motivation, a cause for greater happiness. So we're taking that, and why do it? So it doesn't get lost. And what do we want to dedicate them to? The best. Top of the mountain. Top shelf. For whose sake? For everyone else's sake, for all beings. And how? By uniting the method and the wisdom. So The method is the stuff we've been doing at the moment is listening. The wisdom goes, that listening exists dependently. Nothing, there isn't anything that truly exists. So everything that does exist is dependent. So you keep going, and what I want, Buddhahood for the benefit of all. So the nature is this wish that this energy we've created never be lost. And I always work for this cause of enlightenment. Now, you got to also remember this merit, it doesn't just mean that our only enlightenment will happen from it. That's not the case. Everything else that's beneath that also happens. It's like if you have the seed of a tree, right? So you've got the seed of a tree, you want to have a tree. But you put it in the ground, you nurture it, tree grows up, you get a tree, right? So what's on that tree? You've got the flowers, the fruit, the branches, but you also get the shade that it provides, right? The animals get the home. All sorts of benefits come because there's a tree.
You can picnic and you
Picnic,
get up
yeah.
trees.
So many good things, but all you wanted was a tree. So that's the same here. Aim for enlightenment, and all the good stuff that produces it comes along. And that's why it's best to aim high.
Which really goes against the grain of what we normally do, which is just like we're just aiming for a little sprout.
Yeah, that's right. We go for the little thing. So the merit of dedication ensures that the merit generated by your positive actions is not lost, and it continues to increase and expand. Now that's what a seed does, doesn't it? You put it in the ground, if you nurture it, and the sunlight comes, it expands, and then it becomes something else, and it grows. It's the same with us. That's what we want to happen. We want our good qualities to expand and grow until we achieve this goal called enlightenment. Now that brings us to the second. Full on, isn't it? So you know what meditation is, right? You're cultivating a virtuous quality. You're cultivating something you're becoming familiar. Cultivation, familiarity, with what? Virtuous qualities. Why? To be happier, to decrease my suffering. What are the purposes? Well, it could be for this life, it could be for future lives, it could be liberation, it could be enlightenment. When it comes to Buddhist meditations, they're never for just this life. Because all the Buddhists know, this life will finish. What's the point? You want to be more than this life. Make it bigger. And there are different types of motivations we can bring to it. Like I said, this life, future lives, liberation, enlightenment. And there are different types of meditation. Over the next few weeks, our major type we'll be focusing on is this stabilization and analysis. So there is material up on our site. If you're going to have a look at it to help you with this, the FPMT notes on pages 5 to 9. Once again, they go over the purpose of meditation. And then the LPC extras, page 4 to 10, the aim of spiritual development. That's everything I've said with a bit more detail. And if you've forgotten, of course, you just go, oh, it's all there. So next week, we'll talk about placement meditation. This is, I've said before, concentration. Just putting your mind on an object and just keeping it there. And the object will be the Buddha, which is not an easy object, but start there. So we've created merit. Let's now direct it towards our goal. So join me in saying, due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Now this Buddhahood depends upon what's called a mind of enlightenment. You have to want to do this. That wanting is called mind of enlightenment. So here we have a couple of verses about that. So may the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, not yet born, arise in growth. May that born have no decline, but increase evermore. And as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to the spell for sails of the world. And finally, we have a prayer for a great spiritual mentor who had a mind of enlightenment, still has it, still working for our benefit. So we want to return in a form that we can relate to, in a human form. So we have a prayer for that. And join me in saying, in holding and spreading and moving expressions and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged, incomparable and improved. For you, I make this sickness. So thank you for being here. I've probably given you, overloaded you with stuff. That's how these classes are with me. Pick something away that you can use, and I hope that you all, I'll see you all again next week, that you're all here.